Hey everyone, before the show starts, just wanted to mention Radiothon is going on right now, so if you want to support WVUD and everything we do here, please go to WVUD.org and consider donating just a little bit to get us closer to that $35,000 goal. Thank you. Good morning, and welcome to Lopes on Movies. My name is Joey Lopes, and today I am joined by Connor.
Good morning.
And I am joined by Kyle.
Howdy.
Howdy. I like it.
Yeah.
It's very, very folksy. You know,
Yeah, that's what I'm going for this week.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think it's good to, kind of project a, positivity, kind of like we're like a chummy vibe with both ourselves and the audience. It'll endear us to the listeners, make them more interested in our movie opinions. Okay, so we have two things we want to talk about on today's episode of Lopes on Movies. We're going to talk about a movie that we watched in theaters, actually, last weekend, called Voyagers, which, if you haven't heard of it, then that makes a lot of sense, because I don't think anybody's heard of it, and nobody saw it, because it bombed tremendously, terribly. But we're going to talk about that. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about just some kind of stuff that's going on in the kind of landscape of media. It's constantly changing by the day. The big thing these days is the rise of the streaming service wars. And at least like over the past couple weeks or so, Netflix has really been making a lot of headlines with some of the wild stuff that they've announced. So Connor, how about you walk us through some of this Netflix stuff?
Yeah, sure. It had been a big week for Netflix. So they came out, like, I guess basically a week ago, and with the big announcement that Rian Johnson, the guy who did the Last Jedi Star Wars movie and the indie movie Brick, and what else did he do? Looper, yes. So those are his three big ones. Well,
prior to Knives Out.
He also did Knives Out, and Knives Out is now going to have a bunch of sequels, or at least a couple. That are going to be on Netflix exclusively, and Rian Johnson and Daniel Craig and producer Ram Bergman are all going to be paid what is reported to be $100 million each.
Yep, in the $100 million range. Yeah.
Yes.
But you read this and sometimes you read these movie announcements and your mind just kind of glazes over the numbers, because it's there's so much money in the movie business. When you think of Netflix, it's such a different thing, right? Where Netflix is they get their money on subscriptions, and there's no way to know there's no box office equivalent that you can easily quantify. If a movie was successful in a theatrical model, because you can see how well it did in the opening weekend compared to its budget, right? But with something like Netflix, it's they're spending $450 million or whatever on Knives Out sequels, and how do you quantify whether or not that was profitable? I don't know. It's just weird, because and Netflix, I'm pretty sure is an unprofitable company. I'm pretty sure they just hemorrhage money, but there's just so much venture capital in it, and it keeps getting replenished, because it's such a. I don't know too much about the business of it, but it seems insane to me that they can spend that much money.
You don't know much about the business behind it, because no one does, unless you're Netflix. The creators don't even know. They just know they have this money. They don't. Then they don't really tell you about who's watching it or ratings or anything, unless they want to tell you, and you just have to believe them, I guess, because it's not like there's anyone who's actually tracking it. There's no box office. There's no Nielsen ratings for something like that. So it's just.
Yeah, they'll just come out and say something and Hubie Halloween was the biggest movie of 2020.
Wasn't it Hubie Halloween? How dare you get the title wrong?
It's Hubie Halloween.
Is it Hubie Halloween? I actually have no idea. I do know that Adam Sandler was in the news over the weekend, because he was giving props to the kid Zalatoris in the Masters this weekend, because he looked like his caddy a little bit, as if he was older from Happy Gilmore.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was kind of fun, and the kid kind of played along with it too, which is good. And he came in second, so that's pretty great.
Wow, how about that? Good for him.
Yeah. So, but anyway, Netflix. Adam Sandler also Netflix. He's locked in. Yeah, but the point is that Netflix is like, so their plan, it seems, in this war of all of these streaming services is to acquire as many IPs, intellectual properties as possible. It's so that they can own this market, because eventually it's going to come to some point where a few of them are going to be the top dogs of the others, right? Because you have so many that are competing for that top spot, and everyone's either acquiring or merging and just trying to jockey for position. And what Netflix is doing is spending a ton of money on these IPs. Shortly after the Rian Johnson Knives Out deal, it was announced that the Sony's future IPs and movies I think next year, like the Spider-Man movies, Jumanji, and probably other franchises too, are going to also be on Netflix. So Sony, unlike some of these other ones like Paramount Plus and all these other ones that are HBO Max, Sony doesn't have a platform that they can just release all their movies onto a streaming service, so they partner with Netflix for a ton of money.
They didn't make a Sony Plus.
No, there was no Sony.
They probably could have.
Thinking about it though.
I guarantee they thought about it. Like every one of these is thinking about it, but at some point, like, you have to make a decision if you're in one of these boardrooms. Like, maybe they have to know that this is not going to work. You can't have 30 different streaming services that all charge you whatever amount per month. Like, no one's going to do it.
I don't know. Like that's the real question, right? I mean, we're entering that territory now where, you got your Paramount Pluses, you got your Peacock. And if you want to watch The Office, you got to get Peacock. You got your HBO Max. You got Netflix. You got Hulu. You got all these
CBS
things.
All Access.
Well, CBS All Access is Paramount Plus. It got that was a.
Why does that keep happening?
Yeah,
too?
It's a mess.
So that's the thing, but it all goes with all these companies that are trying to acquire as many things as possible so they have more content. So CBS merged with Viacom, so now they're all one thing. They're Viacom CBS.
Oh, okay.
So they used to be combined. I think it was around 2006 or something that they split apart. And then they had a whole issue with their CEO, who had all sorts of issues that he got removed, and then they merged back with Viacom, and then they shortly after created Paramount Plus. But they were in talks to acquire the Weinstein Company when that was being sold in the bankruptcy courts and everything like that. So everyone is just trying to acquire as many things as possible, or merge or do these things so they can compete in this ever-changing new world that is developing for film.
Well, yeah,
and shows.
Because you see it in all the advertisements for these new streaming services, right? It's just a highlight reel of all the different content that they provide. There's just different shows, different legacy things like The Office or Seinfeld or whatever. It's they're just trying to onboard people with all the intellectual property, because that's what sells these days. That's what people are interested in. The stars are not a thing. We've talked about that before. New ideas don't really sell for the most part. It's basically once you got something that's successful, you ride it until or as long as you can, and then you try to build a portfolio of all these different IPs so that people feel like they need to get your streaming service in order to have a comprehensive look at things. And I feel like it's penetrated the culture a little bit. I hear coworkers or whatever say oh, you got to get Paramount Plus. There's so much good stuff on there. Or it's oh, you got to get HBO Max. There's a lot of great new stuff on HBO Max. And I just think that's fascinating that that's where we're at now. Now it's the streaming services are the things that people get for media. And I don't know. I wonder what the where it's all going to shake out, because you're right. It feels like something that people should eventually just kind of get fed up with, because I don't want to be paying $10 a month for 6 different streaming services that covers a wide range of things, but it's still it just feels like a lot, and eventually people are probably just going to be more oh, I'm a Netflix person, or I'm a Hulu person.
Right. So I think that's what's happening here, and that's what Netflix's strategy is.
Yeah.
So even though they might not be profitable right now, no one actually knows. It doesn't seem conceivable that they can spend as much money as they do on The Irishman or all these sequels that are going to happen for Knives Out. where they're paying the director this like obscene amounts too. Like I don't think I've ever heard of a director making that much like before something comes out, unless it's like made on the back end, or stars too. Like Daniel Craig is 100 million, like off the top. Like usually, I don't think we have so many things that are just like above the line. Above the line meaning like you're paying the talent over like the movie. You know, like, and that's clearly what this is going to be. Like, more money is going to be spent on getting these like people than actually making it, which I think is pretty much a divergent from what things have been in the past. But you know, that's what their strategy is. Their strategy is the long game. Yeah, they're saying we are going to outlast everybody, and when we're the only ones left, we will be the ones making the money. So that's what I think it is.
I wonder though, because it just feels like it's impossible to have a comprehensive library of all of the intellectual properties that people are interested in. You know, like we didn't even talk about Disney Plus here, and Disney Plus is probably like the biggest like one out there right now, just because their content is the most hot content that there is right now. Like for most people, I probably, and so I don't know. I just don't see there being like, I don't think you can just like bank IPs and think that you're going to win out in the end, because ultimately all of these companies are like very territorial with their stuff. The only way that they ever drop their streaming services is if for some reason people stop paying for them, and that they do specialize. But I don't know that it's going to happen just because you've acquired like a ton of IPs. Like no, if you want to watch The Office, right, you're not going to leave Peacock because Netflix has, you know, Parks and Rec or whatever. You know, like you want to watch The Office, you're going to stay there, you're going to stick with it, you're going to ride with it. You're not going to say, oh, this show is like The Office, so I guess that's enough. It's like, now people are kind of obsessed with the specific things. So I don't know. I have a fear that it's just going to end up being like endless streaming services until the end of time.
It's going to get to the point where each streaming service just has like that one key thing that keeps people around, and it's just going to be a war between everything else. Yeah. And it's just going to be tiring. And
I mean, that's pretty much what it is, right? Because that's what like Peacock advertises their service by saying, if you pay for this tier, you get all of The Office with no ads. But if you pay for this tier,
that's literally been their advertising for the last like 6 months.
It's insane. It's so weird. But like they know what they got. They know that they're an Office streaming service. At the end of the day.
100%.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's a mess. I miss the simplicity of just like, you know, you just go to the movies or you watch TV. But now it's and now you got to like navigate an endless minefield of different streaming services and wondering, oh, does this have the thing that I want to watch? Oh, is this leaving the service in a month and then I won't have the thing I want to watch anymore? Oh, my favorite thing is when I have a streaming service and I see there's a movie or show on there that I want to watch at some point. It's like, oh, cool, I'll remember that for when I'm ready to watch it. And like a month later, I'm ready to watch it and it's not there anymore. Like that happens all the time on these streaming services. Like nothing stays. It's just I don't know. It's a nightmare. I just want to watch things without having to worry about paying for a million different streaming services.
Well, don't worry. Hubie Halloween will always be on Netflix.
Yeah, you're right about that.
You don't have to worry about that. You can take your time in watching that.
You are right about
like me with The Irishman.
You're right about that, Kyle. Well said. Well said. Well, I think we've this is an ongoing conversation. You know, we'll check back in on the streaming service world over the course of the months and see how things kind of shake out. But we do have a movie to talk about today with the remaining time of this episode. It's Neil Berger's Voyagers. Connor, how about you give us a little bit of a taste of Voyagers?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I'll just read the description right off of IMDb. That's what most people do when they're typing in, a movie and they want to see what it is. Okay, yeah, so yeah, I'll read this right off. Voyagers. A crew of astronauts on a multi-generational mission descend into paranoia and madness, not knowing what is real or not. So that's not really what it was about.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's just vague enough to not really be wrong, but also not really be right.
It's not. Okay, yeah, so it starred Colin Farrell, Ty Sheridan, and Lily Rose Depp, who I just learned by this weekend is Johnny Depp's daughter.
Yep, that is correct. That is correct.
How about that? Yeah.
Nepotism. No, I'm just kidding. She's a fine actress.
Kyle.
Yeah.
We saw Voyagers because Joey said we got to see Voyagers.
It's true.
Don't you dare put this on me.
He forced us to see this like we forced him to see Nobody.
That's true. That is correct. What did you think of this paranoia and madness, not knowing what is real or not movie?
Oh, you mean this anti-Zoomer propaganda film?
What?
I don't know.
Is that something that you've actually read?
No, I just made that up real fast because I thought it sounded stupid.
I do like that.
I don't know. Voyagers I didn't really like it all that much. We enjoyed talking about this afterwards. I think is it still at 19%, Joey, on Rotten Tomatoes?
It had some ridiculously bad score on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah.
I don't think it's that bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I didn't particularly like it though. A lot of the characters annoyed me, and I thought it was stupid, and some of the dialogue was really bad. But like, I don't know. I feel like it's been advertised as a much worse movie than it actually is.
I think it's one of those movies that you don't really have strong feelings for in either direction. At least I didn't. Like I thought it as a thriller, as a basic kind of like things going wrong in space paranoia type movie. It was fine. Like it was whatever. It was some tense moments. The characters aren't great. The story, like the concept, feels like it's a R-rated concept that's being done in PG-13, which makes it like a very kind of dull. So the whole thing, like the synopsis feels completely like missing the point. Like everybody's saying it's Lord of the Flies in space, which is basically what it is. There's a crew of kids that are being sent off into space because they'll come of age and be able to have kids on the ship while they're going towards a new habitable planet because Earth is like dying or whatever. These classic setup. And the Colin Farrell or whatever is kind of their like, I guess, parental figure. He's kind of overseeing the mission and decided to go with them on the mission to keep them safe or whatever. But the whole idea is that they're being like, I guess, drugged to try to like stop their inhibitions, like their sexual inhibition, their pleasure, suppress their emotion, right? Because they don't want things to get out of hand. A couple of the kids find out about this. They stop drinking the stuff that's drugging them, and then everything goes crazy.
They also find out about this in like the first 5 minutes of the movie.
They do. It happens very quickly. But yeah, like the idea, like you could imagine like a very wild movie as a result of that. Like these kids just like suddenly awakening to all of these feelings and puberty and going like completely wild. And instead of that, it just kind of like it a little bit goes there, but then kind of just dials back and turns into just violence and like just a standard kind of angry movie. I don't know.
There's like a 2-minute montage of them acting like teenagers, and then it goes back to paranoia.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a hard movie to feel any real strong feelings towards. What did you think, Connor?
Yeah.
I wanted to like this at the beginning, but because they throw a lot of exposition at you and right at the start, and I kind of liked some of it. And I was like, this could be setting up for something that's interesting, and then it was. I mean, the reason that people are calling it the Lord of the Flies in Space is because it's just a very dumbed down version of it. Like Lord of the Flies, I think is actually really great. If anyone should read the book, I think they made some movie versions of it too, like older ones that I think I remember seeing forever ago. But it's just like a dumber version of it, really. I mean, I don't know. I wanted to like it, and I agree with you, Kyle, that some of the dialogue and just scenes are just like bad, but not. The problem with it is that it's not bad enough to where it was like funny. It was just kind of like you're just watching it and you're like, that's kind of dumb.
It's not that great, but it's not that
it's just
bad.
Not that great.
It's like,
but it doesn't deserve as like, that's why I hate Rotten Tomatoes so much, because it's such a bad like evaluator of something at times. Like a movie, I could see why a movie like this would just get like destroyed in reviews when you're just evaluating it as like, do you recommend it or do you not, or something like that, and then it just aggregates those scores. Like, I can't imagine anyone's like super passionate about this movie, but as far as something as that to just go to see, I don't think it was like that bad.
No, it's fine.
Like, honestly, it's like it's okay. There's some decent like things in there. It's interesting if you really wanted like get into it. It's interesting from a psychology aspect, right?
Sure.
It like some of that stuff is kind of cool, and I do like the concepts that they're trying to explore on there, where there's like different power dynamics, and when you just throw these people into a situation and they need to survive, which they do, and in this situation they set up how they have to get to their like they're basically just going to survive in the spaceship until their offspring and their descendants kind of colonize a new planet, which is what's going to happen. So they know that they're bound to this ship. And then they're all like young kids, and well, not kids. I guess they're all teenage and are getting older.
Yeah.
But maybe, what are they like? 18?
Yeah, I'd say they're
something?
probably around like 18.
It's all like 25-year-old actors pretending to be 16.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Something like that. Yeah, I mean, that was the concept that they threw in there, and I don't know, they're rebelling against taking the stuff to control their inhibitions. I don't know what they were trying to go for with that. Maybe saying like, you just gotta let people be who they are, and maybe that is what it is. You know, I don't know.
You see, the boomers are suppressing the zoomers. Carry on. I got nothing to say.
Yeah, okay. that was a stretch, but I liked it. So this was a Neil Berger film. Are you guys familiar with our boy Neil Berger?
Not until after you told me.
Do you remember Neil Berger, Connor?
Why should I?
I don't. You probably shouldn't. I mean, there's like a handful of things he directed that you'd be familiar with. Like he did the first Divergent movie. Remember the Divergent?
Those
movies?
Oh yeah, this actually fits well with that, because I never saw Divergent, but I know that was like a YA novel, young adult
That's exactly
novel that was adapted. So this kind of fits that.
Yeah.
You know,
it's kind of in that range, because Divergent. That was when like youth adult adaptations were like, Hollywood was like, oh man, we gotta make all of these. So they made, well, the first one was like the Hunger Games, and then all of the other ones were like basically trying to do that, but more or less failing. You had the Maze Runner. You had is it called the Giver? The Giver, is that a thing? Jeff Bridges was in that? I think something stupid.
Wait, isn't Maze Runner something different?
No. There was the Maze Runner. It was the Maze Runner.
But I thought that was from a different series.
Well, it was from a different series. I'm saying it was.
I'll tell you though, I can tell you right now, if you put on like any half-hour segment of Divergent and Maze Runner, I would not know which one was
most likely.
No chance.
Thankfully that era, we're past that now. But Neil Berger also directed that Bradley Cooper movie, Limitless. Remember that movie?
Oh, Limitless. We saw Limitless.
Everybody Limitless was one of those movies that when it came out, people were like, oh, this is pretty cool. This is interesting. It's got some stuff going on. Now everybody's kind of embarrassed by it in hindsight. They're kind of embarrassed to have ever said they liked it.
I just looked up Limitless. Robert De Niro was in that?
What? That doesn't sound right.
Yes,
what are you talking about?
No, Connor, you're thinking of Silver Linings Playbook.
No, Robert De Niro was in Limitless.
Oh my God, he was. Look at this. Yeah.
I don't remember anything about it other than Bradley Cooper taking like a pill that made him like super enhanced or something. I have, but I don't know anything that happened in the movie.
It was a classic.
I have no idea.
Your Hollywood, humans only ever use 20% of their brain's capacity, but if you take this pill, then you can access all 100% of your brain. Then you get like superpowers. And I think he gets superpowers and uses it to like learn how to like buy stocks.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, I think that's what happened. I remember there was a scene where his like wife or girlfriend, like she took the pill for some reason and was getting chased by some bad guys, and like she ended up on an ice skating rink while the bad guys were chasing her, and she like picked up a little girl and like threw her at the guy, and like the skates like cut the guy, and that's how she got away.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's all I remember from Limitless. Though the other thing I remember from Limitless though is that it opened with like, I think it was the opening title sequence where it's like a camera really, really quickly moving down a street, like a street corridor. And I was like, I noticed that he did that same shot like 30 times in Voyagers. where it's like a camera just whipping past a corridor really fast, and the corridor being like infinitely long. Like, you know what I'm talking about? You remember this?
Yeah. That was. I mean, I don't remember Limitless at all because, again, I don't remember anything about Limitless.
But no, that was
I do remember
that was a shot in Limitless. I remember because it's one of like the few like distinctive like camera things that that movie did. And I don't know. I guess that's kind of a weird like director trademark. You're you're super fast flying through a corridor shot. But hey, you know, whatever works. You know, you gotta stake a claim into something. As a director, and I guess that's Neil Berger's signature shot. I wonder if that's in Divergent.
Where he fit that in for. Yeah, I wonder if he fit that in on The Upside, which he directed. Which was the
Upside again?
The Bryan Cranston and Kevin Hart.
Oh yeah, movie, I remember
where Bryan Cranston's in a wheelchair. Yeah, I wonder how he fit that shot into that movie.
I wouldn't put it past him. I'm sure he found a way. I mean, I hope so. Because when you have a trademark like that, you got to commit, man. Like if you're making movies, you got to just say like I'm gonna put this in everything, whatever movie I make. I don't care if it's like a sci-fi movie or if it's like a stupid comedy movie or a feel good, you know, heartwarming story with Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston. They're going to be zipping through a street, an infinitely long street at some point. You can see we've already stopped talking about Voyagers.
I think we've talked about Berger's like history more than Voyager.
There's nothing much to say about Voyager. I mean, it's Lord of the Flies in space. It really is. It didn't have to be in space, but it was in space for the purposes of like this.
I like space. Some of the shots, space is great.
I do like space, but there wasn't anything about the like story that forced it to be in space to me.
Yeah,
I mean, this is not something that hasn't been done. Like it's just like a more basic version of something that was already made, which is fine. But you know, it's
if you're just looking for a decent, you know, whatever time at the movies to watch something that's, you know, it's fine. It'll thrill you. It'll chill you.
What made you want us to watch this, by the way? I'm just like, well, what else? A little curious.
I don't know. Joey just texted me one day and said we gotta go see Voyagers.
No, I was just saying, like, what else are we gonna see? We gotta see something for the show, right? And that was
we do have to see.
That was at least like, you know, an original movie. It's just a movie, just, you know, a new movie that came out.
It's just a movie.
That's what I like movies. You know, I just want to watch a movie. You know, I don't want to watch like something like Nobody, which like is a fake movie that's asking you to tune in next week.
It
was a joke. It was a joke. I mean, kind of. But I mean, Voyagers was just a movie. You know, I thought like, you know, it'll just be like a good one-off thing, and that's what it was. But you know, it's just kind of a forgettable kind of experience. But you know, that happens sometimes. I've moved on with my life now, and I'm happy to.
You clearly have
to see whatever else comes into theaters next. Although
is there anything like that looks like something to see like coming up?
I don't think so.
I guess like do you recommend Voyagers?
I mean, it's probably out of theaters already. It bombed.
Well, it came out like
that's what I'm saying. It bombed so hard though. Like it had like a $30 million budget or something and made like $1 million over the weekend. Like, oh man, it was a tremendous bomb. But you know, if you can see it and you would like to see something at the movies, and you already saw Godzilla vs. Kong, because I assume that's what you know people are going to the movies. That's probably what they're going to see.
Okay, so I'm gonna say don't see Godzilla vs. Kong, and I want you to see this movie because we need to do something about this Rotten Tomatoes thing, which just tanks movies because of the rating that they have on it. You know, I'm anti that.
I agree.
So
I agree.
I'm actually gonna recommend this.
Support
one. How about
your
that?
local Neil Berger film. He seems like a nice guy.
But Joey, there's so many to choose from.
Well, that'll be it for us, everybody. We'll see you, next week.